Okay, now it is actually time to work on this front-end folder. So before we even get started with it, I would like to just initialize a Git repository. So I am in the root again, not in the front end, not in the back end, but in the root. I'll say git init, and this will initialize an empty Git repository. Now here we can see there are a lot of changes. It's because of this node modules folder. So we need a .gitignore file in the root. I will take this one and put it into the root. And now in this way, both this node modules has been ignored and this one. So let's go here and maybe we should say, inside the gitignore, and we'll just add the .env. Let's add this one as well. So .env will also will be ignored. Okay, so here we can see other than those files and folders, everything has been added into the Git. Now let's just add our first commit. I'll say git add all, and we could do something like git commit. And for the message, we could say something like first part completed, and we'll just say backend. So the first part is backend, and now commit this, and then later in the course I will just push this into a GitHub repo. Okay, with that in mind, now let's go into the front-end folder. So cd front-end, and now we'll like to just say npm run dev. That will open up this development server. Let's click to this. So here is the React application that we have. Now we would like to use Tailwind CSS. So let's say Tailwind CSS with installation. So we'll go with this one. So we already created a project. Now we just want to install Tailwind. So I will copy this, and then let's go and open up a new terminal. So we are in the front end. I'll just paste it, and we'll just press enter. Now it's going to install these packages. And then the next step is we will just paste this file into our tailwind config.js. So I will copy this entire file. Okay, now this has been completed. We will go into the tailwind config.js and then just paste this now. I think we can save. And now the other thing that we'd like to add will be Daisy UI. So let's say Daisy UI, and let's see if there is any other things. Okay, we forgot to add these directives. So we need to copy this, paste it into the index.css. Okay, so I'll just delete everything in this file and then paste this. Now that should be okay. And now let's see what is this Daisy UI is. So it is a component library for Tailwind CSS. So let's take a look at that. Now, instead of writing all these CSS classes just to get this button, we will just say this will be a button primary, and we will just get this result. Now let's go and try to install this. And here are some more examples. Now just to get this output, we need to write all these CSS classes if we use Tailwind only. But if we add Daisy UI on top of it, just with this HTML markup and CSS classes, we could get this output. So now that we know the reason why we're using Daisy UI, let's go and install it. So we would like to copy this and paste it into our terminal. Again, inside the front end it should be. Paste it and press enter now. Then we need to just take this. So I'll copy this plugins line, and then it says add it into your tailwind config.js. So here I'll just override it. And now we have an ESLint problem. I'll just say disable this so that we don't get those errors. And with this, I think we are ready to use Tailwind CSS and Daisy UI. So let's get a component, just test it out. So inside the components, let's copy this button, maybe from JSX, you would like to just get the primary button, or let's get all of them. We will go into the app.jsx. Here, let's just delete everything for now, and then paste those. Now let's delete these. We don't need state for now. And let's delete the app.css content. Okay, so hopefully now we should be able to see these buttons in the browser. Okay, so here we have the buttons, but it doesn't work for the Tailwind CSS part. And let's see what is the reason. So we have added our directives. We installed the packages. So Tailwind CSS, TCUI. Maybe we should just kill this terminal and then open it up again. npm run dev. Okay, so now if you just refresh the page, that's gonna work. The only thing that you need to do is just start your application from scratch. And now we're able to use these Tailwind CSS classes as well as these UI components. Now there is one extension that I use. So if you hover over this, you will see the content. What is the CSS classes that has been implemented to this class? And for this, the extension is Tailwind IntelliSense. So it is this one. If you wanted to, you should install this. And now we could even get some autocompletes. I'll just say text, and here we can see there's a lot of CSS classes that is available in Tailwind CSS, and we get this autocompletes because of this extension. And now with that in mind, let's start to work on our pages. So we could delete everything for now in this page, and here let's just put some div. So we're gonna give a couple of different classes, such as padding 4. Let's say height will be screen, and then flex, items center, and justify center. So as the name suggests, it just gives display flex, align item center, and justify content to be center. And then height screen is just gonna make it full height. And then padding 4 is just gives us 16 pixels from all directions. And now we would like to build our pages, and let's first build our login page. So we will display it in here for now, and then later we'll add React Router DOM so that we'll have client-side routing. So inside the source, we'll have pages folder, and then we will have the components. Now inside the pages, we're gonna have 3 different pages. So let's say the sign up page, and then we will have the login page. And then we'll have the home page where we just have that chat box where we could just send messages. Now inside the login, let's say login.jsx, and for the sign up, let's say sign up.jsx, as well as for the home. Now I have an extension that is called ES7. I think everyone uses this nowadays. I don't need to even mention it, but okay, you need to install this one, and that will give you this different scripts. So if I type something like RFC, I will get this auto imported code. Or there are things like RFC, maybe RFCE, that just gives you these auto completed code. So let's import this one, which is for login. Let's get this one for sign up page, and let's make it to be uppercase, sign up. And I'll just paste this to here as well. Okay, now we have the sign up page, and we'll have the home page. And here, let's just import the login page first. Now I will provide you a file that is a background image it'll be. So let me just push it into this public folder. So I have added this background image that we'll be using for our entire application. Let's go into the index.css, and we will just paste these styles. So I'll just paste this. Now here we have a background image that is this one, and then we are giving some gradient on top of it so that it is not this shining. And then we have the background repeat, it's not gonna repeat, and background size of cover, position from the center, and just fix it. Or maybe we could even delete this line. Now let's save this file. Let's go into our browser to see what we have. So this is the output that we have. Now we're in the login page, and this is the background that we have. Now if we go into here and if we delete the linear gradient, then it is gonna be a lot more bright or shiny. So we'll go and just say Control Z so that we have this linear gradient, and that's gonna be it for now for this file. We could close these. Now let's go into the login page and just try to design it. Okay, so we are in this file. Now let's delete this. Now we'll have a couple of different class names. So let's say class name will have flex column, items will be center, then justify center, minimum width of 96, and then mx will be auto, margin x on the horizontal direction, and then we'll have another div inside of this one. Let's say div, well, this again will have a couple of different classes. Width will be full, padding will be 6, rounded, LG, and this gives border radius as we can see from the left hand side. And then it's gonna have the shadow, MD, this will give us the bulk shadow, and we'll say background gray 400. Then we'll have background clip padding, and then backdrop filter, as well as backdrop blur large, and then lastly background opacity of 0. Now this will give us that glass, so the glass effect, and I'll show you that in a second. And then here we'll just add one heading. So let's say this will say login, and this is gonna have a couple of different classes. So text 3x large and font semi bold. Then text will be centered, as well as text color will be gray 300. Now if we save this, let's see the output that we have. Now we have this, here we can see this is that glass effect that we have on this div. Now how do I get this kind of thing? So I visit this website, I'll just say Tailwind CSS glass morphism, and I think it's gonna be this one. So here you could just change the glass opacity, and you could give large backdrop blur, change the saturation, just do everything that you wanted to, and then copy this class name. So that's what I have done, and I've just changed it a little bit to make it look like this. And that's the website that you can take those classes as well. And next to this login, I would like to put a span that has this chat app, and it's gonna have a couple of class names. Let's say text will be blue 500, and I think that's it. Now if we save, here we can see it's just been updated with this text. And if you wanted to just give this a brand name, I couldn't come up with anything, so I just said this will be chat app. Now we would like to have a form after this h1. We don't want any actions, at least for now. So we'll say div, and here we're gonna have a label. So I think at this point I'll just copy and paste line by line. So we have this class of label, and this is coming from the easy UI. If you hover over this, here you can see there's a lot of classes styles that has been added to a label. Now it has padding 2 from every direction, and then label text base that says username. And below this, we're gonna have one input after this label. And if you just paste, so type is text, placeholder says enter username, and the class name is widthful. The input, again, this is coming from this UI. Then input bordered, height will be 10. And if we save now, this will be the output that we have. Okay, so we have the username, and here you can see it is accessible. It has the border outline on focus state. So that's another reason why we're using Daisy. So if you wanted to, just say Control K and just search for any input that you would like to have. And this is the one that we're using. So it just has the input class, input bordered, widthful, and any styles that you would like to add. Now let's move on. We're gonna have one more input. So below this div, and again, I will just say one more div, and I will copy paste it. So this is the password, label password, and then we'll have the input for it. So input type of password, the placeholder is enter password, and again the same classes. Now if you take a look at that, it is the exact same thing. Now we would like to have a button, or even before that we would like to have a link. So below this div we're gonna have one href, and later we'll change it with react link. Now it says don't have an account, and if you don't put this, so this whole ESLint will give you a warning. So that's why I just put them inside this and just get rid of that error. So curly braces and quotes. So don't have an account, this is a link. If you save, now it looks like this, and when you hover over this you get this link styling, and below this you would like to just have a button that is inside a div. So after the h tag I'll just say div, and then paste the button. Now it has the button block, which gives width of full, so button small and margin top of 2. If you save, now this is the output that we have, and that's gonna be it for this file. And now I would like to just copy this and paste it once more if you don't really want to write all those classes, and if you just want to copy and paste it. So you could grab it at the end of this login.jsx file. I will say starter code for this file, and I'll be doing the same thing for the incoming pages and files. Now let's go and try to build the sign up page now. So here let's change this to be sign up and import it from this file. Okay, so this is the so file content that we have, and here we can see now this is the output. And again we will be writing a lot of different classes. So inside the signup.jsx we will have, oops, so let's delete this. We will have class name on this div, and let's give a bit space. Now this div will have flex column, again item center, justify center. It's gonna have minimum width of 96, and then it's gonna have mx auto, the exact same classes that we have previously. And then div, again I think that's gonna be the same to give that glass morphism effect. So let me just type it at least for this one. So class name is gonna have width of full, padding of 6, and then rounded will be LG. So we'll have the shadow MD, background gray of 400. Okay, there's this one, and then we will have background clip padding, and then backdrop filter, as well as backdrop blur, and that's gonna be a large. And lastly, background opacity will be 0. Now again we will have one heading that says sign up to the chat app. If we save, this is the output that we have now. We have the background as well as this heading 1. Now let's move on. After this heading 1 we will have a form, and let's delete the action, give a bit space. Here we'll have div for the first input, and this will have a label as well as an input. Let's copy the label and paste it. If we save, we're gonna get this full name label, and we would like to get the input. Now here we are just pasting some basic CSS classes, and I don't really want to waste time writing all of them, so that's why I'm just pasting, and I hope you guys don't mind it. So after this div we will put another input, and by the way, let's take a look at that. Now we have the full name and full name input. So under this full name we will have the username, again one label and one input, and type of them is text. So let's paste this, and we will have another one for password. Now again I will just copy it below this div, paste it, and this is the password, and here is the current output. And then we would like to have the confirm password, so I will copy it, and then below this div we will paste it, and okay, this is the output. Now we would like to put a component here, and I'll just put a comment for now. let's say gender checkbox and goes here, and we'll create that in a second. And below this we will have another link, so a tag that says already have an account, and we could just give a bit spacing or formatting. And after this a tag we'll just have a div that holds our button that says sign up. So that's the output now we have. And just before this link, we would like to have that component that allows us to check the gender. So for this, we will create that component under this sign up page, because that's the only place we're using this component. So I'll say gender, maybe checkbox.jsx. And now here we will paste our classes. Now we will have one class name here that's going to be flex, and below this we will have one div and another one after that. So let's say this is going to have the class name of form control, and I think this is coming from the UI as well, or maybe from Tailwind CSS. And then inside this form we will just have one label that holds the span of the label text as well as the input. Now below this we will put the other checkbox. So inside this div, let's give the same class name form control, and that's gonna hold the female input or checkbox. Now if we save, here we can see input type of checkbox, it has these classes. This is coming from again from this UI. And here if we render this, delete this line, and let's say gender checkbox. Now if we save, and this is the output that we have now, and later in the course we will add the logic, but here there is a bit too much spacing, and let's try to delete it, maybe margin top of 2, or from here margin top of 2. Okay, this looks a bit cleaner. And if you'd like to see that component, just go here and search, let's say, the input or maybe checkbox. That's going to be this component. Here you can have different colors, and if you want to get the code, click to here for React applications, and for HTML CSS just get this part. Okay, that's going to be it. Now let's see what you'd like to add next. I think that's going to be the homepage. So let's go into the, and again I'll just copy this, paste it at the bottom of our file, and I'll comment this out in case you would like to get this file, because later in the course we'll be changing this file, and I would like you to have this as a starter code. So starter code for the sign up component, and I'll do the same thing for this one, paste it. Okay, now we could close this sign up page, login page, and let's create the home page. Now inside the home page, let me just show you a picture. So that's going to be the home page design that we'll have. On the left hand side we have the sidebar, and on the right hand side we have the message container. So depending on that, let's try to build this page. Now here we'll have a lot of different class names again, and I will copy and paste it because it is going to be mostly the same thing that we had in sign up and login pages. So it is these classes just to give this kind of a glass effect. And here we say smaller screens and above, the height will be 450 pixels, and medium screens and above, it's gonna be 550 pixels. And this medium means minimum width of this number of pixels and above, and this smaller breakpoint means, let's see, 640 pixels and above. So that's something Tailwind CSS uses just to give some responsiveness. Now here we said that we'll have two different components, the sidebar that we'll create in a second, and the other one will be the message container. And since this is flex, this will be on the left and this will be on the right, just like we had here. this is the sidebar and message container. Now let's comment this out, and first we'll build the sidebar. So let's go here inside the components. We will create the sidebar folder and then sidebar.jsx. Now inside the sidebar, again, we will have 3 different components. So this is the sidebar. We have the search input, right? And then we have the conversations, and at the bottom we have the logout button. So we will just split it into 3 different components so that our code base looks cleaner. Okay, inside here we will first have the search input, and then below this component we will have a divider. Here we can see, I don't know if it is visible from the video, but we have a divider here that just gives a bit cleaner UI. And here how we can get a divider with tail and CSS. So class name, divider, and padding x of 3. I think this is coming from Daisy. Okay, and below this we will have conversations, and these are the components that we'll create in a second. And below this we'll have the logout button, and let's create all of them one by one. Now let's comment this out first, and we'll build the search input. And since we're going to be using it inside the sidebar, I'll just put them inside this folder. So search input.jsx, and let's create it. Now here, that's going to be a pretty basic component. We'll have a form, and then here we'll just have an input. So again, I'll just paste the classes. It is coming from Daisy UI. So placeholder that says search, input bordered, rounded, full. And this form will have this class name, so flex, and items center, as well as gap of 2. So it is flex so that input and this button will be next to each other, right? And input on the left and the button will be on the right. Now let's paste this, and inside the button we will put an icon, and for this we'll be using React icons. Now let's save this file, and inside the home let's import the sidebar. Inside the app we will delete this actually and render the home page now. Let's say home, and if we save now and save the sidebar, first import this. Okay, now inside the app we have the home, inside the home we have the sidebar, inside the sidebar we have the search input. Now if we refresh, and that's the current output that we have. Now let's import the React icons. So let's go into the home, and that's how we install this. Copy it, and then inside the front end, paste it. Okay, so it has been installed. Now the icon that we'd like to use is a search icon, and for this what we generally do, we just go here and search for the icon name. So now it is search, and here you could just click one of those and copy the import. So the one that we'll be using is this one, so IO search sharp, and that's how we import it. Let's say IO search sharp. Okay, it is this one, and we'll just import this now. It is coming from React icons and IO5, and it has these class names: width of 24 pixels, height of 24 pixels, and no outline. Let's save, and this is the output that we have. Now below the search input, we said that we'll be having the conversations component, and let's create that. So again, inside the sidebar, and now instead of putting every conversation here, let's create one more component called conversation. And now here we will just put those conversation components. Now this is gonna have class name of padding y of 2, flex column, and overflow auto. Okay, it's gonna be at the top. Now here we'll just put those conversation components. Let's say you'll have 4 of them, or maybe 2, 4, 6. And each conversation is this component. Okay, this one, this is a conversation, this is a conversation, etc. So we will go into the conversation.jsx and let's delete this one. And I think we'll have a fragment, and then at the top we will have a div, and at the bottom we will have another div. Let's first start with this one. Now this div is going to have a class name. So flex gap of 2 items will be centered, and on hover, so that's how you would add it in Tailwind CSS. On hover state, we would like to change the background to be sky 500, and then rounded, that's going to give us some border radius, so it is going to be rounded, so border radius of 4 pixels from each direction. So padding of 2, and then padding y of 1, then it's going to have the cursor to be pointer, and now inside we will have an avatar. So on the left we'll have the avatar, and on the right we will just have the full name as well as the emoji, and below it we will have this divider there we can see for each one. Now let's go and try to add all of them one by one. And if you search for avatar, so here you will see that there is a component, and you could just copy it and paste it, and that's what I do. So there is even online status and offline status, and that's what we'll be doing. Now inside here we will have a div. Let's say class name will be avatar, and let's say it's going to be online, but later when we add the functionality, we will not add this as a hard-coded, but it'll be dynamic depending on the user. If it is online, that's be online, but if it is offline, then this will be offline. So just to keep in mind. And then we will have another div, and that's gonna have an image with some classes at this div. So width of 12, rounded full, so that's gonna be rounded full. And this image is gonna have a source and alt, let's say user avatar. And as far as for the source, I will just copy and paste this URL for now, and then we will update it later in the course. And after this, so after this avatar, we will add another div. Let's say it's gonna have the class name, flex column, and then flex of 1, so that it will take the entire space other than this one. So inside we will have one div and one p tag, and then one span tag. And inside the span we will have an emoji. Let's put this one and say class name of text x large, and here we'll have the username, say John Doe, and we're gonna have some class names, font bold, text gray of 200, and then this is gonna be flex. I don't know why I went from at the very bottom to the top, but flex gap of 3, and then justify between. Now with this, I think that's gonna be it. The last thing that you'd like to have is gonna be this div, where we'll just have the divider class. So class name, divider, margin y of 0, padding y of 0, and then height will be 1. And that could be even a self-closing tag. And let's save and let's see the output now. So I just refresh, you cannot see anything inside the conversations. Okay, we imported this one, but inside the sidebar, we need to just take this above. Oops, so we need to copy it and then just paste it now. And let's import the conversations. Now it is inside the sidebar. And okay, so this is the output that we have now. So it shows the same username, the same online status for every single user, but we'll be updating that later in the course. Now we have the conversations, and the very last thing that we need to add will be this logout button, and let's import it. So I will just copy the logout button, and maybe before that I will copy this. So I'll copy this, oops, and then just paste it so that you could have the starter code for this file. So I just add starter code snippet for this file, and let's do the same thing for this one. So I'll just copy this and then paste it. And let's do the same thing for this one. Okay, so this is the starter code for conversation.jsx, and this one we did the search input. And now here we forgot to add some classes, and let's add them. So class name, let's say border right, and border slate 500. That's gonna be the color of the border, and padding of 4 from all directions, flex and flex column. And with this, now we are able to build the logup button, and it's gonna be inside this component. Let's say logout button.jsx, and that's gonna be nothing but just an icon. So let's say class name of margin top of auto, so that it'll be pushed to the very bottom. So if we say margin top auto, it'll be pushed from here to here. And we'll like to get this icon, and we have an error. Let's save and import this, and the icon that you'd like to have will be this icon. So import bi logout from react icons bi, and then inside here, let's just say give us this logup button or the icon, and that's gonna have a couple of class names such as width of 6, height of 6, and text white, as well as, so let's say text white, cursor will be pointer. Let's save, and with this I think our UI should be ready, but we have some errors. Let's see, inside this sidebar we don't have the logout. So we have it, logup button, conversations. Let's see it from the console. So it says there is not this icon. There isn't. Okay, so this O should be uppercased. If you save now, hopefully that should work. I'll refresh. And here we have the logup button as well. Now let's go and try to add this message container component. I will comment out this, and inside the components, let's say messages, and inside we will have, that's going to be a file, message container.jsx. And let's close these files. We don't need them. We could close the sidebar, but first I will again just copy and paste it. So starter code for this file. Now inside this component, we will have again a couple of different components. So this is the message container. Here we have the header, and then we have each message, right? This is going to be the messages component, and then we have the message input. So again, we need to create 3 different components, and let's add them one by one. So here we'll just first, let's give some class names. Medium screens and above, minimum width, let's say will be 450 pixels, and then flex column. Now here we'll have the header, and let's put a fragment for this, and let's just have the header where we just have this to text from John Doe. So we just added this one, and it has a background color as well. So it is this one. Now below the header we will have the messages. So let's say messages component, and then we will have the message input. And let's start with the messages. Now here for the messages, again we will do the same thing that we did for the conversation. We will just put each message one by one, so that it has its own component and our code base looks cleaner. So here we will have some class names such as padding x of 4 and then flex of 1. Overflow will be auto, and you'll see why this is needed. But basically, if messages overflows, we will have a scroll bar, and that's why we added the same thing for this conversations container. and I think we'll see that later in the video. So let's say we will have the message component that we will have a couple of these. So let's create them. So message.jsx, and for the markup, again, this is not going to be any complicated. So here there is a component that is coming from Daisy UI. So if you search for chat bubble, so here you can see this is the one that we are using. We have the profile pic and then this chat bubble. And if you use chat start, it gives you as if message coming from the other user. But if you add the chat end class, it is as if you sent the message. Now here, this is chat end, this is chat start, and this is chat start, so on and so forth. And that's what we'll be doing. Now here, let's just say class, we'll have the chat, and for now, let's add the chat end. And again, we'll be changing this dynamically depending on the message. So we'll have one div, and that's gonna have class name of chat image and avatar. So this is gonna have another div that will have the class name of width 10 rounded full, and inside we will have an image where I'll just copy and paste it. So this is coming from, again, this URL that we put that is just temporary, and we will change it. And below this div, and even below this div, we're gonna have one that says the message content. Maybe I could copy and paste it. So I will just delete this one, and above this I will paste this. Okay, it says, hey, how's it going? And then we will paste one more, that is the time. So here where we can see we have the chat bubble class, chat footer, and all of them are coming from Daisy UI. So I don't know these classes by heart. I just copy and paste them, and that's generally what we do. And I will save now. Here, let's import the message, and inside the message container, let's import the messages. And now hopefully it should work. Inside the home page, we will import the message container as well. And now that's what we have. So if we just make this if we just duplicate this one a couple of more times, that's gonna overflow our container. And since we have this class, we're gonna have this scroll bar here, you can see. But if we didn't have this class, so I'll just delete that. Now we can't really scroll it. So that's why you add this class. And this scroll bar looks pretty ugly, and I want to change it. So I will go into the index.css, and I will add a couple of more classes. So let's go into the index.css. So below this, so here, that's what we have. So this is gonna give us a dark mode looking scroll bar. So we say change the width and make the cursor to be pointer, and I think this is not needed. So we say make the width to be 8 pixel, change the background, and for the truck, for the thumb, and change the hover state. So that's something how we change the scroll bar. Let's go, and this is the output that we have. And with that in mind, let's continue with our page. So we could close this. Now we have the message component, and we would like to create the message input. So this component will have a form. Let's delete this, and it's gonna have a form. Let's say class name of padding x of 4 and margin y of 3. Now here we'd like to have one div that's gonna have the class name of, let's say, width full, and then inside this we will have an input that is type of text, and we'll add a couple of more classes. So I think at this point I will copy and paste it. So it's gonna have a border width of 1, text small, rounded LG, block, width full, and this other colored classes. And below this we could give a placeholder, let's say just send a message. And after this div, I think we could have a button. Let's copy it and paste it. Now this is gonna be our icon, BS send, that is coming from React Icons. And so we will just import it. React icons /bs. This is the icon that we have. And we have mixed tabs error. So let's see what that is. Okay, now it's just been fixed when I save it. And after this, I think that's gonna be it for this component. Let's save, and I would like to copy and paste this one as well, in case some of you want to have the starter code. So starter code snippet, and we could do the same thing for this file. And maybe this one lastly. Okay, so let's save, and hopefully everything should work fine on this page. So, okay, here we have our message header, message container header. So we have messages and then the message input, but we cannot see the button, right? Let's see why that is. Okay, so we're using position absolute. So this has to be, I think, relative. So if we give the relative class on this one, so that's going to be positioned absolutely inside this div. So it's going to be end of 0 and inside y of 0. So top 0, bottom 0, that will just position it on the bottom right corner. And with this, now we have completed most of our design part. But now what happens if we are in this kind of a situation where we just refresh the page and we didn't select any chat? Now here we should see something like this. So welcome in the username, and then it says select the chat to start messaging. And for this, we could add a component, and that's gonna be inside, I think, the message container. So here we could go here and then just paste this. So no chat selected, then we will show this component. So let's just have a variable for this. Let's say const no chat selected, and for now let's say true. And here I will just cut this part for a second, and I'll say if no chat selected, then we will show this component, but otherwise we will return this part where I'll just paste it. And now let's see the output, but we need to import this from React icons. Let's say import, and let's save this. Now if we go here, okay, so no chat selected, we see this component where we just have two paragraphs in this icon. And then if we say chat is selected, so if we say false, then we will see this component. And later in the course, we will make this to be dynamic. And let's just take a look at this component. So we have two p tags that has two different div containers that has these different classes just to make it look cool. And then we have this icon that is text 3x large, and here you can just change it depending on the responsiveness. So in smaller screens, that's going to be 3x large, but in the medium screens and above, so that's going to be 6x large, where the font size will be 60 pixels, but here it's just going to be 30 pixels. And then we have the text to be centered, this class. Now these are the most of the design that we have, and I think that's enough for now. We would like to just add the functionalities now one by one. So we have one error inside app.jsx. Okay, so let's delete these and delete this one. Now I would like to just add this as a commit, and then we'll just move on with the next section. So I'll say git add everything. So we have 21 different files here, we can see. So we have added all of these, and we changed these files that we can see m next to it. Now we could either add the commit message from here and just commit it. So I'll say something like second part completed, and I'll just say design, or maybe UI design, and I'll just commit these changes.